Caroline is unique because she's a survivor. There were 250 ships that fought in the Battle of Jutland, the biggest big gun naval battle that ever took place. And of all those ships, all the dreadnoughts and super dreadnoughts, the cruisers, the destroyers, she's the only one that's left. The ship is an interesting history because just after World War I, she went on a Far Eastern cruise, and then in 1924, she was towed from Portsmouth to Belfast to become a depot and drill ship. She tells the story of 100 years of naval life and the people who made naval life in a single ship. Some of the spaces you walk into there, especially the Tiller Flat, have broadly been untouched since 1916. They're all there in their original configurations, their original materiality, and that's what makes it quite so exciting.
Blue Marine's primary role on the ship is to restore the ship from its late 2010 state to a more traditional interpretation of what the ship would have been originally when it set sail. The ship was in quite a sorry condition. There was a lot of enabling works and safeguarding works required. At the moment we're undertaking major shot blasting works to all the external decks, all the external superstructures. The shot is copper slag that is brought in. The decks are pressure washed at the same time as being shot blasted to ensure that the copper slag and the paint remain together, and we're taking all the paint off back to the bare metal. A lot of the welding works that are being undertaken are to restore existing decks, existing bulkheads, which over the time have rusted through and have just really suffered. The structure of the ship was all riveted plates. The plates that you see which are welded were inserted back in the 1950s during a major refit then, and we are bringing them back, restoring them to a good serviceable state so that they're safe and guarantees the life of the ship for another 100 years. All the floors throughout the ship on the upper and lower decks are being re-screeded and new marmoleum flooring put back in to bring it back to a more traditional original look. Prior to our entry into the engine room, a client team of asbestos removers were in, and they removed all the asbestos paints and all the harmful asbestos from the engines and the engine surrounds. Now that we're down there, we're preparing the decks, we're repainting all the decks, all the bulkheads have to be repainted, and we're then going to cut open new openings into the engine room to install new walkways so that it will become a new visitor attraction around the engines. All the portholes were removed, were shot blasted and buffed, and then had new glass where required and all new rubber seals fitted to them. So every porthole on the ship has been restored. For all the shot blasting works, for the painting works and the new timber decking, we've had to install canopies across the ship, and we have a company, Advanced NI, a local company from Belfast, installing the scaffold structures for us to ensure that the guys can work on the ship without being affected by the weather. All the timber decking had to be removed off the ship because in some places the steel plates were in quite poor condition. The paint in underneath the timber had deteriorated quite badly, and the risk of leaving the water getting in under would just facilitate more rusting. So the timber decking was lifted, and all the timber that came off has been saved and has been placed into storage into the National Museum's storage facility in Portsmouth. Throughout the ship, all the electrical and mechanical systems have been replaced. New power, new fire and security has been installed, new data is being installed, new supplies for water and new toilets are being fitted throughout the ship. So for the new future visitor attraction, all the services will be there available for the public. A lot of the existing watertight doors were taken away, shot blasted and repainted and refurbished to ensure that we can guarantee another 100 years out of them.
There were very few contractors who were confident enough to do the type of work that we needed to be done. And this is where Blue Marine have really come up trumps, because they have worked in a way that has been entirely sympathetic to the project. They've worked very closely with the interpretation planners, they've worked very closely with the museum staff, and they formed a team, and it's been a team approach to resolving all the issues that an old girl of 100 years old who can be cantankerous can throw at you, and there are quite a few of those.
It's 35 years ago, I worked here as a labourer, helping the shipwrights mend this very deck that we're standing on now. Both my father and my son has worked on the Caroline. My father worked on the Caroline a long time ago, my son more recently, and I'm really proud of what we have done here. We've put down a traditional deck, traditional in the sense that we've used traditional pitch and caulking methods, which really that skill is died out on ship's decks, and we've brought that back. And it's the first work of this nature that we carried out, restoring a 100-year-old ship. We're used to going on cruise ships and doing fast-track work. This time we've worked with archaeologists, architects as normal, historians, and produced something that we're all very, very proud of.